Alright, this is adding and subtracting assigned numbers. It's really just subtracting, but we're going to be turning some of the subtractions into additions. And this is how. Let's read our first sentence. It says you owe $5 on your credit card bill. Okay, so minus 5. You take away $3 of debt. Well, $3 of debt makes that a minus 3, because debt represents a negative. Alright? And then $3. And then take away, we remember that as subtraction. It's one of the ways of saying subtraction. So what this means is we're minusing a negative 3. Well, what does take away $3 of debt really mean? It means that you're adding $3 to your account. So anytime you have a minus, you're subtracting a negative, it's really the same as doing addition. So like negative 5 plus 3 would now be negative 2. So anytime you see this subtracting a negative, you can just switch it into plus and then use the rules that we've used before for adding and subtracting negatives. If you have not finished the video for adding and subtracting negatives, please do that before you start this one, because this won't make very much sense until you have a fairly decent grasp on adding integers. Okay, so let's move on. So again, if you see subtracting a negative, it really means addition. The other way to look at it is this. If you have minus $3 and then you take away another $5 from your balance, that's the same as adding debt. So anytime you see subtracting a number, from now on we're dealing with integers, you don't want to leave it as a minus. You want to change it into a plus minus. This will give us a clearer picture on whether we're going to add the two numbers or subtract them. So from adding some integers, we already know that if you have a minus 3 and a minus 5, that's a minus 8. And then if you see minus a negative, we just did that one, you want to change it to plus 4. So if you subtract a positive, change it to plus minus. If you subtract a negative, change it to plus. And here's the reason why. So, if you have minus 3, you're right here, and then you subtract 5, is that up or down? That's down. So 1, let's put that in red. Give it a little clearer picture. So we're at negative 3, and then we go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now what are we at? It's negative 8. Well, that means this has to be plus minus. That's the only way to get a negative 8. Otherwise, we wouldn't have gotten that. Let's see if it works again. Alright, so we have 2 minus 3. So we start at 2. And then we're going to go down 3, because it's minus 3. 1, 2, 3. And we're at negative 1. So again, if that was plus minus, that would give us our negative 1. So anytime you see a subtracting, just put plus minus. And then, same thing here, you want to just change that into a giant plus sign. Let's do it with blue because we want blue. Okay, so we're at negative 7. And then we add 2. So 1, 2. Now we're at negative 5. Because the negative 7 is bigger, so it has to stay negative. Alright, the other way to look at it is this. If you have minus 3, it's 3 red dots. And if you subtract 5, well, that's not going to be blue dots. That's going to be red, which means they are all red dots. So that's negative 8. And you can still think of it with the blue. Positives are blue, and then subtracting numbers is red, and they'll cancel and give you negative 1. Now, the one that gets a little tricky, we already know that if you subtract a negative, it's like taking away a negative. And if you remove a negative, it's a positive thing. Like, you have a bad person in the room. We'll put a bad person in the room. So, let's draw a bad person in a room. Well, he should be in red because he's bad. Okay, and what we're going to do is remove the bad person. Well, what happens when you remove a bad person? That's a good thing, and good things are positive. So if you take away a bad thing, it's a good thing. You take away a sore, oh, that's plus, right? Okay. And you can even work it over here too. If you take away a positive, well, taking away a positive is bad. It's still negative. So That's how you can look at it. All right. So that's what we're going to do here. We're going to take away a negative. Well, if you take away a negative, that means it's a good thing, which means that one is going to turn into a positive, and that one will turn into a positive. That's all that's happening. That subtracting a negative is changing that into a positive sign. And then now we know that that one cancels, and you end up with -5. So anytime you see these two together, subtracting a negative, make sure it's subtracting a negative number. Then that's going to change into a plus. And what we have is -7 plus 2, which gives us -5. Okay? So again, minus a negative, change it to a plus. Subtracting a positive, just put plus minus. You basically take this little negative and you give it to him. You treat the subtraction like a negative and give it to the 5. Okay. So there's our rules. Look them over. And here's what I want you to try. So again, on each one I want you to change it first. So this I'd like to see 5 plus -3. And down here I want to see -5 plus 3. Just get used to writing the symbols. Eventually you won't have to anymore. Your brain will take over and know what the answer is. But initially it's a good technique. Alright, so hit pause and try these. Alright, and there's all your answers. So you should have put 7 plus -5, 9 plus -12, and the minus and minus should also be a plus. So check them over. Make sure you got them right, and that is a negative there. It's not very dark. Alright, here's the large one. If you've already tried it, that's great. Let's see if you got it right. So your first thought should be, okay, 1250, I'm subtracting a negative, so let's put a plus in there. And then when we subtract, it's larger take away smaller. So 1250 minus 150. The 50s cancel, and then 2 take away 1 is 1, and you get 1. So it's 1100, and then we got to go back and see which one's bigger. It's more negative, so you should have gotten -1100. If you did, perfect. Alright, thank you.